Hi, you're listening to God, Ghosts, and Government, a weekly conversation with Senator Kim Jackson, where she'll reflect on her journey as an Episcopal priest, farmer, legislator, and much more. I'm your host, Sharitha J., and I'm honored to share this space with you. Let's begin. Hey, it's your girl Sharitha J, and we're back for another episode of God, Goats, and Government. Hey, Senator Jackson.
Hey, Sharitha, it's so good to be with you today.
It's great to be with you as well. How are you? I hear something called Crossover Day recently happened.
Yeah, I made it. That's how I feel. No, it was fine. I am coming off of really, I think crossover day itself was not nearly as late as it could have been in the house. I think they didn't
Mm-hmm.
get out till maybe midnight or 11 o'clock. We finished before 9. Um,
Mm.
but we stuck around and enjoyed some time together afterwards, I should say. So I still didn't get home till quite late.
Okay. Well, I saw on social media that you had plenty of snacks set up that Aaron, your chief of staff, made sure you guys were ready to go because it's really, if you guys ever, our listeners, if you ever have the ends, right, you have it in with a senator, perhaps Senator Kim Jackson, you will find that you can come across some yummy treats on crossover day and sunny die. So those that snack drawer you all have, it looked pretty tasty.
I didn't even go in the snack drawer at all on crossover day.
Oh,
But wait, it's because there was so much like real food, like not snack food, but actual food. So
okay, okay.
snacking was not necessary. I guess I did have some M&Ms by the end of the night, but man, there was so much food. There was barbecue, there was no mas cantina, so Mexican food with an American flair. Um, there's macaroni and cheese. I don't know. I mean, if you wanted it, it was around. There was pizza. There's just like a ton of food. So I did not need the snack drawer, but I'm sure other people who perhaps weren't in all the places did have some snacks.
Okay. Well, as you know, I like to get right into it because I know you had a late night engaging. It was a full day at the Capitol. So let's get into the weeds a little bit with the good, the bad, and the ugly. And perhaps, as I like to, maybe we can end on a good note. But what took place? What took place
Yeah.
on crossover day? What crossed over?
Yeah, so what crossed over? I think the bad of it was the RFRA bill, which is it's has a bad name. It's called like the Restoration of Freedom Act, RFRA. I don't know. It's an acronym.
Restoration of religious and freedom.
There we go. The
Yeah.
Restoration of Religious Freedom Act. There we go.
Mhm.
It's got like it's very misleading, right? It sounds like this great, lovely thing. But we can listen to my speech and you'll hear from my speech what it actually does. And so that was actually the bad of crossover day from the Senate side, along with for reasons that are still not quite clear to me, we are defunding the American Library Association, which is the only accrediting your face.
Oh,
It's the
I'm
only accrediting like entity that accredits librarians that gives them their licenses. So now you'll be able to use private funds for accreditation. They'll have to use private funds to pay for that accreditation. And all of our librarians across the state will have to use private funds, in other words, their personal dollars, to pay to maintain their affiliation with the ALA. And what was most egregious to me, and I asked a question about this to be clear, to like get clarity, is that all of the grants that the ALA provides, which is kind of a mainstay of what they do, is that they give grants to local library systems, school systems. We can't take them at all. Now, Shretha, how much
help
does it
me.
cost to
Help me
get a
to understand.
grant? What is a grant? Grant in and of
It costs
itself,
you a little bit of time. That's what it costs you to actually to
right?
complete it, the
And,
application.
and what are the benefits? What do you reap? What do you reap from receiving the grant?
Funds. Financial support.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Mhm.
Free money, right?
Mm.
Well, now, if this bill becomes law, no more ALA grants for libraries. Nope. We will not, you cannot give us money, ALA. You know why? Because your current president is a quote Marxist lesbian. And therefore, y'all just got too political. And how dare the ALA insist that when you receive an ALA grant that you have to diversify your library and have library books that are written by, a diversity of authors that have a diversity of characters. How dare you impose your socialist Marxist views upon our libraries? We don't want your money anymore. No more free money. It is the most ridiculous thing. Anyway, so honestly, though, all told, given that we were together for 10 hours passing
Mhm.
bills,
Mhm.
the fact that these are the only two that I can really complain about, it's not too bad.
It's not too bad. I'm trying to keep my facial expressions together over here. Our listeners on Apple and Spotify, you don't have to be exposed to it, but my goodness. Oh, okay. Okay, so that's two. So I don't want to miss the opportunity to share your speech from the well. Can you just give us just like a brief setup for that? Because I want to make sure folks have an opportunity to hear.
Yeah. So for those of you who followed the pod last year, we talked briefly about RFRA before. Senator Ed Setzler, who happens to also be a Furman alum, his son is currently a Furman student. So he and I connect around being paladins. Anyway, he dropped this bill last year, and then through a compromise measure, we understand he basically sold his silence on HB 30 and chose not to stand in the way of HB 30 in order to get his RFRA bill passed, which, as I told people yesterday, not in my speech, but offline, privately, he's like, okay, I'm going to help pass HB 30, which on its face is supposed to protect people from anti Semitism. But I'm going to turn around and pass this RFRA bill, which is essentially an FU, because it lets people discriminate against all of you, Jewish people especially included. So, slap you with one hand while extending a handshake with the other. It's wild.
It's the opposite
You
of what you were saying about both and is the direct. Like you caught so much
right.
flack about both and it was inclusive. It was okay. I'm sorry. Please go on.
Yeah. So anyway, this is my response to his bill, which really does give people a license to discriminate. And what he'll say is, well, when this gives the courts an opportunity to kind of litigate and to determine how to make sure that religious freedoms are not, impacted. Is he's got this whole thing, but ultimately he puts the power in the courts. And as you'll hear from the speech, I talk about how having something legislated or litigated 2 years from now does nothing for you when you are stuck on the side of the road and a tow truck refuses you service because you're gay or have a bumper sticker on the back of your car that they religiously object to. So here we go.
Okay. Okay. Let's take a listen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today to talk about a family with a little boy, 3 years old, left in the care of an Episcopal priest and a Muslim imam. A boy who was at risk of getting caught up in the foster care web, who came from living on the streets, a boy who rarely saw 3 square meals a day and who saw horrors unimaginable to us. A boy with the biggest smile and the brightest eyes. I rise today to talk about a family, a priest and an imam who have created a loving, stable home for a boy, who have taught him how to pick blueberries, how to take care of goats and chickens, how to show him the wonders of nature and the joys of playing with other kids. A family a priest and an imam who are embracing parenthood to the fullest, who prayed and waited for years and years for a child to love. A family with a priest and an imam who also happen to be gay. This is my family. I am the priest, my wife is the imam. This is my story, and this is my reality and my fear. My fear that my child's daycare can turn us away, that a hotel can refuse me entry, that we can be denied access to any number of services that every other Georgian has rights to. The gas station that refuses us service, the restaurant that won't seat us, the physician who denies care for my child, all because they have a religious objection toward me and my family. Across the country, RFRAs have already opened the door for discrimination in public health, child welfare and adoptions, marriage-related services, employment, and public accommodations. Let's be clear. RFRA legislation is being used to discriminate against adults and children. This type of legislation has been used to bar LGBTQ children and children of different faith backgrounds who are in need of a home from certain foster care and adoption agencies. If we pass this bill, this could have a catastrophic impact on the lives of the over 11,000 children in Georgia who need loving homes that will meet their needs. This legislation has the devastating potential to keep our children on the streets without the life-saving resources that this body has worked tirelessly to provide for children in our state. RFRA legislation across the country has led to life and death situations being taken into the hands of those who feel that their religious beliefs should allow them the ability to decide the fates of others. Life and death situations, the lives of children who are living on the streets are cast aside. It's these lives that will be affected if we open the floodgates for discrimination. Legislation like this is an invitation. It's an invitation for Georgians to consider how they want to discriminate. It's a permission slip, a license, an open invitation to deprive Georgians of their basic needs, to deny the opportunity for children to have their lives saved, an opportunity to divide us deeply instead of unite us around our shared goals of creating a safer and more prosperous Georgia for all. But let's forget about my family for a minute. I want you to think about your own family. If any one of you has someone in your family or someone whom you love who is gay or in a multi-faith family or in an interracial relationship, if you have someone who you love who just has a whole lot of tattoos, for God's sake, if there is anyone who you love, when upon looking at them, people think that they are different than the norm, passing this legislation puts them at risk. This doesn't just affect my family. It doesn't just affect LGBTQ families. It affects yours. When it's your child or family member who's looking to adopt or needing medical care, who wants to marry the person that they love, or they're looking for a job or needing a hotel room. When it's your family member who simply needs a tow truck on the side of the road and they have a tag on the back of their car that makes someone think, I object to you. When it's your loved one that someone else has a religious objection to, there will be no protection for them. Let me say that again. When it's your loved one in the moment who needs a tow truck or a hotel room to stay in, there will be no protection for them. Maybe it gets resolved 2 years later in a court, But in that moment, at that night, while they are standing on the side of the road, wishing and praying that someone will give them a tow, they have no protection. And they don't have any protection because we are one of only 3 states in the nation that doesn't have an anti-discrimination law. We don't have protections set in place if people try to abuse this RFRA legislation. So friends, let's not wait until it's too late for our loved ones. Let's not wait until the bill is already passed and the floodgates of discrimination have been opened. We have a chance today, right now, to care for the lives of Georgians, the lives of countless children, the lives of our loved ones. Like my little boy who is at home joyfully playing, feeling safe for the first time in his life. You have a chance to vote down this bill, not because of your personal religious beliefs, but because the people of this state are depending on you to help them survive and thrive. Friends, know this. If you vote green today, this is a vote against my family and yours. A green vote is a vote against Georgians. It's a vote against our families, our children, and our loved ones. So I urge you, dear colleagues, to stand with me in protecting all Georgians by voting no today. With that, Mr. President, I yield the well.
Senator is yielded.
Wow. Such a powerful that opener.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Aaron Castle, my chief of staff, who really sat down early in the morning and just began to write those things out. She gets me, and it's a real gift to have a speechwriter who understands my voice, understands my story, and also understands the issue, right? I mean, Erin is in an interfaith relationship. She's in an interfaith, interracial relationship. So she gets it, and yeah, and she has adopted children who, if she were in South Carolina, chances are agencies would have denied her and her husband the opportunity because they couldn't make a faith statement because he's not Christian, and they're not both the same race, right? Like, so she got it on a deep level, but she also understood my voice and really created a skeleton of a I almost called it a sermon, but of a speech that I could use to really speak my truth and the truth that people needed to hear. So a lot of gratitude to Erin for that, and a huge shout out to the advocates who were out in the hallway waiting for me the moment I finished, the moment the vote was cast. We knew how the vote was going to go. And so to be received by a queer family outside on the ropes was exactly what I needed. And the last thing I'll say about this, Sharitha, from my side, is that Jeff Graham, who's the executive director of Georgia Equality, he's been on the front lines of gay issues for decades. When I apologized to him for the outcome of the vote, because I felt like, my speech did not change the vote. 33 Republicans still voted for it. That's all of them. He said to me, Kim, this is the first time we've ever had somebody in the Senate who could speak from the well as a faith leader and as a gay person to this issue. And we've been fighting this battle since 2015. But for the first time, we had somebody who could go in the well and represent us and our issues. So that is a win. So thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff, for reminding me of that.
Yeah. That is a win. Well, I think that's an excellent segue, Senator Jackson, to the good. There has to be some good crossover day. You had an all-star week just before So,
Yeah.
can you give us some good this episode?
Yeah, so I mean, we have to go beyond crossover day. This is the whole
Mm,
week before, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I guess on crossover day was on Thursday, so Tuesday, my bill on address confidentiality hit the floor of the Senate, and I am proud to announce that that probably was the only bill that day that passed unanimously out of the Senate without a hitch. I presented that bill in under a minute. People were very, very proud of me for that. But got it in and out of the well, told them why this saves lives, why this matters, and 100% of folks, 100% of the folks in the Senate voted green on that bill, and so it's off to the House. It's already been commended to the Government Affairs Committee in the House, which is a very friendly committee for us, and so I am eager and excited, and actually, I'm very, 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 very optimistic that this bill is going to get across the finish line. So that's huge news. It's great news. It's great news for anybody who's been victimized and terrorized as by people who are domestic violence folks, stalkers, anybody, sex traffickers, anybody who's felt their lives were in danger or a threat. This bill will save lives, and it's on its way.
Excellent. Okay. I love it. This is a good position to be in. I, of course, never rushing you, but I also, it's so important to me, and I want our listeners to understand that, like, this is extra. This is this insight, the behind the scenes. You make time for this each week, and it's so important to have a space of reflection. But also, we want to make sure you're getting some rest because the work continues. It's crossover day. That means we're getting into the second quarter. We're getting into the second half, and you gotta gear up. Continue to, what is the saying that at the top of one mountain is the bottom of the next? So we've climbed this mountain.
Wow. That is one of the most depressing yet inspirational quotes.
So we've climbed one mountain, okay, but we're gearing up for the next. So we want to honor that and make sure you have what you need. So, is there anything else you want to share about this week and what we're looking forward to? It's the month of March
Yeah.
officially. We've it's there's so much there, but please share if you have something.
Yeah, so a couple of things to look out for in the legislature. One is the House passed a really bad anti-immigration bill that's coming towards us in response to the very tragic death of the UGA student. Actually, I think she was technically an Augusta University nursing student who was at UGA at the time. Um, but that legislation is it's xenophobic, it's racist, um, and it's all in response to fear. So it's a bad bill, but we'll be looking to see that in the Senate. So a heads up, I'll let your senators know that we don't want to go backwards when it comes to how we treat our neighbors who are immigrants in this state. Um, and then on I don't know what other front there is, on a different front, Reese and I, that boy, age 3, with the brightest eyes and the biggest smile, and I are going to visit Dr. Jill Biden. So this one I
What?
didn't tell you so you could get like your real surprise face.
That's what? This is awesome.
Yes, 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 yes. So after my speech, the team reached out to me and invited us. She's coming into town in Atlanta. By the time this airs, this will have happened. And they invited me, and I was like, well, I don't really have a babysitter. And they were just like, no, 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 bring the boy. Um, and so
Wow.
that's super exciting. I've met Dr. Biden before, but I'm super excited to introduce baby Reese. He's not a baby really. I'm excited to introduce Reese to Dr. Biden, and to just get an opportunity to talk to her a little bit about what it is to be in this world, in the world of politics, and to be a mom and on all those things. So Super exciting. And then last but not least, we've been
Wow.
talking about this. I know you're like, what? Reese gets to meet
But
John
yeah.
Biden? Yeah, it's great. And last but not least, we have already installed, I believe, 63 blueberries onto
What?
the
Okay.
property. Yes, on crossover day, I did hire some folks, got some help. So while I was on the floor, they began to install, and I will finish up this weekend with the remaining. We'll end up with about 100 blueberries,
Okay.
um, in the shape of a labyrinth. So we'll try to post some pictures and stuff as that finishes up. But I'm super excited for the farm. The blueberry bushes are already in bloom, the ones that are gonna, produce in the early May. So like it's all coming together, Sharitha. Like the farm is coming together.
Okay, this is so exciting. I can't wait for more updates about Dr. Jill Biden and Reese, and of course the blueberries. Looking forward to photos, and of course I'm looking forward to the harvest when it comes as well. And this is just truly good news. Uh, as always, Senator Jackson, thank you for your time. I'm gonna close this thing out as we usually do. You've been listening to another episode of God, Goats, and Government.
Until next time, continue to like and subscribe, continue to share with your friends. We are so grateful for the many new listeners. Shout out to the Episcopalians of Facebook who gave me a great opportunity to promo this pod, and welcome to the new listeners.